This morning, maybe you felt it. A sore throat, a headache, a strange weakness in your body, so you opened a cabinet, took a small pill, swallowed it with water, and moved on with your day. You probably did not think twice. But that tiny pill contains something your ancestors would have seen as almost impossible. Because for most of human history, getting sick was not annoying. It was dangerous. A fever could kill you. A dirty wound could kill you. A broken tooth could kill you. A simple infection could take a child before anyone understood what had happened. And yet, humans survived. Not because they had hospitals. Not because they had antibiotics. Not because they knew about bacteria or viruses. They survived because, long before modern medicine existed, humans were already learning how to fight sickness. But the first medicine was not a plant, it was care. One of the strongest pieces of evidence comes from Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq. There, archaeologists found the remains of a Neanderthal man who lived tens of thousands of years ago. He was probably around 40 to 50 years old, which was already old for his world, but his age was not the shocking part. His body was badly damaged. One arm was severely injured. His eyesight was probably poor. His hearing may have been limited. His spine and joints showed signs of painful disease. He could not have hunted like the others. He could not have gathered food easily. By the brutal rules of survival, he should have died much earlier. But he did not. Someone fed him, someone protected him, someone helped him live, and that changes everything. Because healthcare did not begin inside a hospital. It began when a small group of humans decided that a weak person was still worth keeping alive. But care alone was not enough. People still got sick, wounds still became infected, stomachs still filled with parasites, pain still spread through the body. So humans began to experiment. They watched animals, they tasted leaves, they chewed bark, they tested roots and mushrooms. Most attempts probably failed, some probably killed people, but sometimes something worked. And when it worked, the tribe remembered. That memory became medicine. One famous example was found in the Alps. Ötzi the Iceman died more than 5,000 years ago, frozen in the mountains between modern Italy and Austria. When scientists studied his belongings, they found pieces of birch polypore mushroom tied to a leather cord. At first, it looked strange, but birch polypore contains compounds with antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. It may also help against certain parasites, and Ötzi had intestinal parasites, so this was probably not decoration. He may have been carrying medicine, a man from the ancient world, walking through the mountains with a small natural pharmacy on his body. But this knowledge is even older than Ötzi. Researchers studying ancient Neanderthal dental plaque found traces of plants with little nutritional value, including plants linked to medicinal use. They were not eating them because they tasted good. They were not eating them for calories. They may have eaten them because they had learned that those plants changed how the body felt. And that is the strange part. Nobody gave them instructions. There were no books, no doctors, no labels on bottles, just trial, pain, death, memory, and survival. One person tried a plant and suffered. Another tried a different one and improved. A child watched an elder prepare leaves in a certain way. A warning was passed around the fire. Do not eat this. Use this when the stomach hurts. Chew this when the pain comes. This was not modern science, but it was observation. And observation repeated for thousands of years becomes knowledge. Then there was willow bark. For thousands of years, people used willow bark for pain and fever. Later, scientists discovered that willow bark contains salicin, a natural compound related to the chemical family that led to aspirin. So when you take aspirin today, you are not holding something completely separate from the ancient world. You are holding the refined version of an old discovery. Someone long ago chewed the bark of a tree and noticed that the pain changed. But plants were only one part of ancient medicine. When suffering became extreme, humans went further. They opened the body. Sometimes they opened the skull. This is called trepanation. It means cutting or scraping a hole into the skull, often with stone tools. It sounds horrifying, but it is one of the oldest known surgical procedures in human history. Skulls with deliberate holes have been found in Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Some are thousands of years old. And the most surprising part is this: many people survived. We know because bones sometimes grew back around the hole. That means the person lived long enough to heal. So these were not always accidents. They were procedures. Why did ancient people do this? Maybe for head injuries, maybe for seizures, maybe for severe pain, maybe for strange behavior they could not explain. They did not understand the brain like we do, but they knew the head mattered, and when nothing else worked, someone made a terrifying choice. They opened the skull. Not because they were stupid, because they were trying to solve a problem with the knowledge they had. That is what people often misunderstand about ancient medicine. It was not just superstition. It was human intelligence working in darkness. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, often dangerous, but always searching. And in many groups, one person carried most of this knowledge. The healer, the shaman, the medicine person. This person knew the plants, the wounds, the fevers, the rituals, the fears, and the stories. They were not only a doctor, they were the memory of the group. Because there were no medical books, no written instructions, no hospitals, the library was inside one human being. If that person died, generations of knowledge could disappear with them. And then there was fever. Today, people often panic when temperature rises, but fever is not always the body failing. Often, it is the body fighting. A higher temperature can make life harder for certain pathogens and can support parts of the immune response. Ancient humans did not know the word pathogen. They did not know about immune cells, but they knew patterns. When someone burned with fever, many traditional societies kept them warm, watched them, gave them water when possible, and waited. Sometimes they were wrong. Sometimes fever became deadly, but the instinct was not meaningless. The body was doing something. And humans slowly learned that not every symptom was the enemy. Sometimes the symptom was the battle. But the price of learning was terrible. For most of history, children died in numbers that are hard to imagine today. Infections, parasites, contaminated water, childbirth, wounds, and ordinary diseases killed constantly. A tiny cut could become red, swollen, hot, and fatal. No one had antibiotics waiting in a cabinet. So every survival mattered. And the species continued because humans remembered which mushroom to carry, which bark to chew, which wound to clean, which sick person to keep warm, which elder knew the cure, which mistake had killed someone before. That is what medicine was before it became science. Memory. Someone gets sick. Someone tries something. Most things fail. One thing helps. The group remembers, and the knowledge lives longer than the person who discovered it. The next time you swallow a pill, remember what you are holding. Not just chemistry, not just a product from a factory. You are holding the end of a line that goes back to caves, fires, forests, wounds, fear, and survival. A line that passes through the injured Neanderthal who should not have lived. Through the frozen man carrying mushrooms in the Alps, through the first person who chewed willow bark and felt the pain fade. We did not invent medicine in one moment. We inherited it from care, from mistakes, from memory, and from one human walking toward another human who was suffering instead of walking away.